Welcome back to Expediting Change. I'm still a little nasally coming home from Buffalo, New York, but I still love you, Buffalo, New York. I got a phenomenal guest in the building today. We're gonna chop it up. We're gonna get it in. I already let him know. Look at me, I'm moving so fast. I'm so excited in this podcast. I already let him know this is not a scripted show. This is about the positive progression of the culture. And I'm gonna pull up on him and I'm gonna ask him how is he expediting change for the positive progression of the culture. So we want to get right into this. We're gonna run. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Welcome back. I appreciate y'all to Expediting Change. What's good, homie? How you?
What's good, man? How you, man?
I'm always good, man. It's the only way to be, man.
Man, the sun is shining, so we here, man. We
All
here.
right,
Expediting change, man.
I appreciate you pulling up, man.
And vice versa.
No doubt, no doubt.
Appreciate you.
Now, expediting change is giving individuals micro nuggets of information so they can break it down and understand for the positive progression of the culture, which we talked about. We chopped it up.
For sure.
But once you start by introducing yourself and then talk about what you do. Why you here, man?
What's going on, everybody? I said jump and I'm up. My name is Jason Boursiquot, a.k.a. JFlow301MD, reporting live, Expediting Change. Motivational
He live already. See his hand movement. He ready to
motivational
rock,
speaker,
bro.
Motivational speaker.
No, don't hold your hands. Go ahead, man. Do your thing.
Motivational speaker, community advocate, podcaster, whatever you want to call it. Just being who God called me to be, being who I needed when I was younger, and I'm here, man.
Ooh, I like that. Being who you wanted to be when you were younger?
Yeah, being who I needed when I was younger.
Ooh, that's my first question, man. So what would you say to your younger self in high school?
Be patient.
Why?
Take your time. Like, you don't have to rush to do everything.
No doubt.
And on top of that, like, know why you're moving. When I was in high school, I say I was unintentional. Like, I just do things just to do things and just to have a to-do list.
Yeah.
But, I'm like, okay, bet I did X, Y, and Z, but where did it get me?
Mm.
So, you find yourself like running on the treadmill, right? You're running on the treadmill, you're like, okay, I'm in the same place. Keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. What's the result? So I found myself doing that in high school a lot. Sure, I loved school and everything like that, but it was like, all right, what was the end goal? What did I really think of when it came to resources?
Yeah, so you felt like you were just blowing through life.
Yeah.
So
sure.
so that is you knowing that you are going back to talk to your younger self. But let's say you going back and you talking to the youth, right? So we're not dipping back in time. There's youth out here right now.
Facts.
And I heard you say community activist. First, tell me what that means for you, because community activist can mean a whole lot of different things.
Oh, yeah. Well, basically for me, community means being able to pour into the next generation, right?
Okay.
Or like serving your community, meaning showing up to maybe like a meeting or, like I said, a basketball game, something like that, and making sure that your presence is felt.
Okay.
Not just easing on by just to ease on by.
Yeah.
Like, nah, really having a conversation, communicating with them.
Okay.
Like that.
So what talk to me about the activist piece.
So the activist piece is really seeing a problem and providing a solution.
Okay.
So, for example, back in 2021, when I started doing community work, I knew that there was a lot of people that were homeless in DC. So shout outs to Miss Kimberly Marshall. We both partnered together.
Okay.
As my community mentor. We decided to do a Feed the Homeless event.
Okay, that's dope.
And then we were able to do that, and we did multiple ones. And then also like Dave and Buster's, we realized that kids needed safe spaces just to be themselves. So we're like, all right, well, why don't we just go ahead and partner and do this and raise funds and take kids to Dave and Buster's and create a safe space for them.
Yeah.
So that's really acting on something that we felt like was needed for the community.
I like it. I like to say that I have 3 personalities, and one of my crazy personalities was ready to challenge you on that activist part, because the first thing that comes to mind, right? I like to say quite often that my feeling is not fact. Right? But my feeling is still mine. So when you said community activist, the first thing that I went to, because we had this conversation on this podcast before with other guests, with multiple guests, is activism versus advocacy.
Okay.
So I really like how you describe that activism as activity.
Yeah.
Because what got me to start this podcast is I was just frustrated with the activism of us just beating the streets and tearing down neighborhoods, but we wasn't pairing it with advocacy and actually creating real change. What would you say to that?
Facts. Now, I agree with you. I commend you for starting the podcast and the platform, because like I said, once again, it's like, okay, we could talk about this stuff all day, but if we're not going to do anything about it, then what we really doing?
No, exactly what
You know
we're
what I'm
really
saying?
doing.
What we really doing? We having these conversations, these courageous conversations, to really find the change.
Yeah,
You know what
for
I'm
sure.
saying? And be the solution.
For
Really, it's
sure.
just being who you really needed to be and walking in your purpose.
And what does the change look like to you? What do we need to change? If you had the very top priority, and I'm talking for the positive progression of the culture, like what do you see as like your number one overhanging priority that is that change that you want to see and you pushing for?
It's the mindset.
Mm.
The mindset, because it's like, all right, if I can win, I know you can win.
Mm.
And the way that you win may not look the same, but it's like, all right, cool. Like if this person is in position, let's get behind this person and really support this person. Because guess what? When they get in position, they're gonna probably look at you and be like, oh, I remember you supported. Hey, guess what? I can look out for you too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Sometimes we don't want to pass the baton. This is an alley oop or something like that. And it's like, nah, I want to be stingy with the ball. I'm gonna just hold it. And I don't want nobody else to get the ball but me. I'm gonna take the shot and not you. It's like that's what's holding our community back.
Okay.
We're not able to pass the ball.
Let's pull on that thread. Let's pull on that thread of mindset.
Uh-huh.
Few questions. Whose mindset? What's the current mindset that you see? And then the mindset that is the ideal state you want to move it to. But let's start with you because you said mine. So whose mindset?
I would say others and how we perceive ourselves.
I don't like others, they, he, she. My staff will tell you at work, I hate when people say that. So
Okay.
who's others? Be more specific.
I would say outsiders.
Okay.
Outsiders, like people that view, let's say, the African American community.
Okay.
People that view us and based off of our history, our knowledge, our trauma, whatever we've dealt with in the past, how it can be perceived and looked at.
So folks outside of the culture,
yes,
you want to shift their mindset about the culture?
Theirs and ours as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Ours as well. Like it starts with us.
So explain it to me. Start with either one, either theirs as the outsiders or ours. What mindset do you want to shift it from to?
Negative to positive.
Who we starting with? The other folks? They? I was my bad. I asked you a question and I cut you off.
No, it's all good.
I asked you a question and I cut you off.
It's all good.
And I recognize that. And I know this is my podcast, but I gotta be fair to my guests, right?
No, for sure.
It sparked a thought and my brain goes crazy. Right?
Gotcha,
it goes faster than I can actually talk. I heard something really good. I went home, I was in Buffalo, and I heard a panelist say, I never heard anyone name their child they. You feel me? So it's like people talk about, well, what they say. Ignore they, because there is no they. So that's what came to my mind. So
Okay.
I wanna press on, if you're talking about they, what is that they mindset? What is that like? I'm not even gonna say his name because I'm not necessarily a fan, but the others, the they, etc. What mindset are you trying? Because I don't know how much energy we want to put into trying to shift that mindset. But go ahead.
Yeah, I would say we can start with our own.
Okay.
Right? We can
fair.
start with our own because I think, okay, how we view ourselves. Okay, we're people that are rich. You have to think that, right? And it starts with how you think. Okay, what do you really feed yourself? And it's not, okay, I just eat this food. That's it. No, it's, okay, what do you consume? What does your routine look like? Am I somebody that's pushing forward towards my dream, or am I somebody that's going to always complain and, oh, look at this person did this person did that.
For sure.
What am I doing?
For sure.
So we get in this negative Nancy, irritating Kevin type of mindset, whatever it is, because we're looking at somebody else working, but it's like, what work are we willing to put
For sure.
in? And obviously, if we're not at these, meetings or tables or whatever it may be, how do we get ourselves there?
For sure.
And we can.
For sure.
It's possible.
For sure. I feel the presence of, and I hear in my ear those who are involved in like social emotional wellness and the history of our people, the plight of our people, the plight of our folk. And I believe some of them, they, like I'm using they may
all
say
these pronouns.
that,
Here we go.
Here we go.
They
right?
and them and he and she and they
sure.
and us.
They might say that a function of that is not necessarily our own fault because of the things that have been put on our back for thousands of years. So while you're talking about this transformation of the shift in the culture from the perspective of a mindset, how do you pay deference? How do you pay respect? How are you giving credit to everything that has happened to us for us to actually be in that mindset anyway?
Like, I think giving credit is just acknowledging what was.
Okay.
And then being able to see what is now
Mm.
and then embracing the future,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we can always acknowledge what was, right? And be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, this was bad for us. We went through, so many years of slavery or
Mm.
being told what we can't do,
Mm-hmm.
what we can do, this, that, and
Mm-hmm.
the third. And then it's like, okay, now that we have the baton, now
Yeah.
that we have the ball, what do we do? Are we gonna
Yeah.
sit there and shoot, or are we gonna sit there and just pump fake forever?
For sure.
And nah, we can't pump fake forever.
I agree.
We
I
can't.
agree. I have a not so popular opinion um on that from that perspective of reparations, and are we going to stay stuck in the past begging the government for reparations and money, or are we going to teach the culture what we need to teach in order for us to be able to buy our own boots, to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, as opposed to waiting on the government to give us reparations, which is not mutually exclusive. So I'm not saying the government don't give me what we owe, what y'all owe me is what I mean. But at the same time, I'm not going to fundamentally only depend on reparations. So it's not a popular opinion, but talk to me from your framing when you talk about mindset. You agree? You disagree? You want
Nah,
to get up and throw the mic down and quit? Get off the
oh
podcast? He
nah,
crazy? He a
I feel
capitalist?
it. I feel everything that you're saying when it comes to the mindset, because like I said, like we got to be able to, be the change. And what that means is like, okay, if you guys start more organizations to get funding and things like that, and realize
Hmm.
that the government ain't gonna come and save us, that's what
Absolutely.
we got to realize. Because like I
Absolutely.
said, we're in the times now of technologies advancing,
Absolutely.
AI is here, AI is
Absolutely.
taking people's jobs, everything like that. We got to really move on it now.
Can I press you on something
Yeah,
though?
go ahead.
I don't believe AI is taking people's jobs.
Okay.
I believe AI is helping to transition workforces. And if you are not using AI and not learning AI, then you may be in a position where if you don't learn it, how it can be used, then AI may remove, well, you may remove yourself because you're not growing and thinking on your own. But I just had to push you on that.
Oh no, that's cool. Like I said, because like I said, once again, like AI, the way that it's being perceived. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, I'm
No
saying
doubt.
from a
You're saying
younger
a
standpoint.
perception.
Yeah,
Got it.
perceptions point. Like,
Got
yeah,
it.
from a younger standpoint, it's like,
Got it.
man, wait, this a robot? That you mean to tell
Right.
me this joint can do my job? Oh
Right.
man, I ain't gonna apply for this
Right.
joint. Like, nah, dog.
Listen,
I already took it.
I use AI almost every day. If you're not using
Yeah.
AI, you're behind. It's just that simple. Stop fighting against these technologies and things that's coming out. You got to use what's new. It's like I'm old enough to know when cars didn't have power steering, right? Like you fighting against technology. Who wants to be driving a car like this? Because you know what I mean. It's power steering. AI is a form of power steering. It's here to help us. But I completely digress as I always do on the podcast. I want to go back to this mindset, and then how are you instilling this shift in mindset in these young people? Because let's keep it a buck. These young people, they smell fear.
Oh yeah.
They know when you capping.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They can smell a nigga that is bullshitting all day. So how do you come in and have these conversations with these young people to say, hey, listen, this is where I see you are, but this is where and how you should be in order to be great.
Yeah, so for me, it's really just meeting them where they are. Like every kid I talk to them about like, okay, what's your favorite app? And nine times
Mm.
out of 10, they're gonna say Instagram or TikTok. And
Mhm.
if they sit there and be like, all right, okay, we can shift from your favorite app to, okay, who's your favorite artist? They'll say,
Mhm.
oh, NBA YoungBoy or Raw Wave. Or like for the girls, they'll say Sexy Red or
Yo, I'm
Cardi
old.
B.
Who I
Know what
don't
I'm
Ron
saying?
Way. I don't even
Like
know
they'll
who
say
Ron.
these
Who's
people,
Ron Way? I don't
Raw
even know.
Wave, he's like one of the, top artists right now. He talks about like mental health. He brings like suicide awareness and things
Okay,
like that.
that's dope.
So
I'm about to
like,
look him
the
up.
kids, they love Raw Wave. They sit there and talk about like NBA YoungBoy. Like the girls, they listen to like Sexy Red, Glorilla, all that too. So like talking to the kids for real is just like, okay, now they found a way to open up. Now it's like, okay, cool. We know music, we your favorite video game, whatever it is. All
Yeah.
right, let's talk about life now. All right,
Okay.
so what's really like what are you
So that's
dealing
your
with?
bonding. That's your introduction. That's your end.
Yeah.
Okay. And
And
then
then
what?
from there, it goes into, okay, this is what I went through. And majority of the kids, they really want someone that's going to be vulnerable to open up
For
to
sure.
those, hurdles and
For
stuff like
sure.
that. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm not perfect at all. I'm not the straight A student. I didn't get straight A's.
For
I was
sure.
average for the most part. And then at the same time, I made my mistakes.
Yeah.
And they want to know, okay, how did you overcome those mistakes?
Yeah.
So did you go from, okay, you used to talk in the classroom all the time, didn't listen to your teacher, and then, you failed the test, and all of a sudden I had to tighten up and go into the front seat and ask all the questions, raise my hand and all that stuff
Yeah.
to actually doing that? Or was you just, cool, calm, and collective and nothing
Hmm.
happened? And like you said earlier, like they can smell that from a mile away.
Absolutely.
But if you're not willing to share those hardships with them, they're
Yeah.
gonna look at you and be like, all right, bro was saying this, but I ain't really move off that. Oh,
Yeah.
sis was saying this, but
Yeah.
I ain't moving off of that because
Yeah.
you ain't really show me nothing
Yeah.
that you overcame.
Absolutely.
And that's what we have to really do. We have to really meet them where they are and share those stories because they really
Absolutely.
want the vulnerability. That's what they really
So
want.
after you met them where they are, now they are listening to understand rather than to respond.
Yes.
And they're in tune with the message. What message are you giving them?
I'm telling them never to give up. And the never to give up is literally just, okay, it doesn't matter how hard it gets. It's like, for me, prime example, geometry, I hated geometry.
I hated calculus.
Calculus.
It was so stupid. What's the point in calculus?
So like,
I've never ran into calculus in life. At least I maybe.
See, geometry, I ran into geometry because obviously, parallel particles.
Absolutely.
But I'm just saying, you feel what I'm saying? No cap. Yeah, for real though. But like, yeah, for real. So I think that for me, it was just like, okay, with geometry, the thing about it was like, and me just, this is just me being fat. Don't judge me, y'all, whatever. It's like, okay, 3.14 pi. Right? I'm like, what is pie?
No doubt.
I'm not a fan of pie. I like cake. Like, why do I have to study about pie when I'm just on cake so much? But it's the whole notion is it's all these formulas. And I'm like, all right, bet I'm giving all these formulas, triangles, trapezoids, whatever you named it. But it's like, okay, bet. I didn't see myself in this formula. That's why I was struggling with geometry.
I respect that.
So then I had to sit there and talk to my teacher, and I'm like, yo, man, and shout out to Mr. Epton, and shout out to Charles Herbert Flowers High School. Like, it literally was that moment where I was like, all right, bet I have to see myself in this equation.
No doubt.
And now then when I saw myself in the equation and the formula, then it's like, all right, bet it's not that bad.
So you had that aha moment. How do you, because that is something that was innate in you that had to happen to you from your experience. How do you then, from the perspective of the students that you're talking to, get that into the student? Because I hear your story. I like it. I resonate with it. There's a difference between empathy and sympathy, right?
For sure.
So how do you get me? I went to 4 different high schools. I literally got kicked out my first high school. Then I went to alternative. I got kicked out of alternative. Then I went to big alternative. And then I rotated out of that alternative and went to another high school. And then I got kicked out of that school, but they let me back in. Gotcha. So I feel you when you say that.
Right.
But I feel you because I understand.
Right.
So how do you get these younger kids? And I'm at a different age, right?
Right.
So I can look back. How do you get these kids to understand the magnitude of your story to be able to feel what they feel it inside, not just listen to you, but feel it inside to start making change?
Yeah. I just tell them like, okay, where are you at right now? Right. And goal setting for kids is it could be very basic, right? It could be like, all right, bet like, it's Q1, you're trying to get all A's or you're trying to get all B's. Or, hey, I'm just trying to do all my chores. I don't want my mom to get angry at me at all. Like, I just want to be the perfect kid.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? So whatever the goal is, whether it's small or big, how do we take those steps today? That way tomorrow it looks like that. Then it's like, okay, by the end of the week, we did something.
Agreed.
Because I think it's hard for them now to literally imagine. Because they're in this survival mode. I gotta be this. I gotta be that.
Respect that.
Mom says I have to play this sport. Dad says I have to do that. And they're taking on some things that they don't even really want to deal with, to be honest. So it's like, what is their ideal dream? But if you never had that conversation with them, and it's like, but going back to what I was saying with the formula part, it's like, I want them to see how they're a part of the equation.
For sure.
So when they're in school, it's not, okay, look, guess what? Johnny has to get all A's, or Catherine has to get all A's. You just have to be the best version of yourself.
I like
whatever is the best version of yourself should be fine for you.
Absolutely.
It's not, okay, I didn't get all A's, I'm a failure. No, you're not a failure.
No doubt.
Like, no. Everybody didn't have, everybody's path is different.
No doubt.
So just to have them to be encouraged about that and realize, okay, even if you fail like a quiz or something like that, and then you fail a test, it's not over. Because like I said, you still have time.
I think that's one of the toughest parts because, again, back to the day and you talking about the external factors, that failure seems so much bigger now for these kids than when I was a kid. Because if I failed, it was like my circle of friends, it was other individuals, etc. But now you literally have millions of individuals watching, right? Depending on how many followers you have and this engagement and this instant gratification. So talk to me how you speak to the kids about that, because that feeling of failure is big. It's magnified now, right? So if I don't do something and I'm on YouTube, or I have a podcast, or somebody's recording me where I tripped and fell up the stairs. How do you talk to the kids about their wellness from that social media perspective?
I tell kids all the time, man. I wasn't like I said, I wasn't the brightest. I was made fun of. I wasn't like the best at basketball, the best at football, or whatever, like that. And then it's like it's okay to make those mistakes
For sure.
because, like I said, you're not going to be at your point A or your dream destination. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm at Disney World. It takes time to get to Disney World.
No doubt.
Or oh my gosh, here I am at Rome.
No
Like,
doubt.
no, it took time to build Rome.
No doubt.
You know, so I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, it's just realizing that you're going to make the mistake and don't trip off of when you make the
For
mistake.
sure.
Because if you never made the mistake and it was prematurely handed to you, you're not going to know how to deal with it when you get
Facts.
there.
That's facts.
You know
And
what I'm saying?
and the conversation about failing forward is real. I see you have your mental health shirt on. And mental health can be taboo in our community. Which is another, because you're in a space, brother, as a committed community activist talking to young kids. That's a tough space to be in.
Oh, no, for sure.
So combining that, putting those two together, amalgamating mental health, taboo, talking to these young kids, how are you approaching that discussion?
Yeah, mental health, man. I'm not even gonna lie. I think after the pandemic, for me, I had to really pay attention to it because it's like, you look in the mirror every day and it's like, dog, that's the toughest conversation you could have.
Mm,
Do I love myself? Do I like myself
mm,
enough to really keep going and showing up? And can I show up for me?
mm,
Right. So I'm telling myself that in these spaces, it's like, yeah, man, okay, it's about them. But like if I'm not 100%,
mm.
they're not gonna get 100% from me.
I
So I
can't
gotta
give you.
make sure I gotta make sure I'm good.
I can't give you something that I can't give myself.
Right. Or if I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna pour out of an empty cup, I can't be empty. I'm saying so I
Absolutely.
gotta be able to fill myself up with all those things. So, like I said, just having the right mindset, the right approach, telling myself every single day, like it's going to be a great day on purpose.
For
Like,
sure.
to have a positive mindset, to
For
tell
sure.
myself good morning, to tell myself that I matter, to tell myself that I'm dope, I'm a vibe, I'm amazing, and that's what I tell people all the time. The things I would tell myself, and to keep myself going, is the things I'm gonna tell people.
So that's not easy.
Nah.
That's not an easy place to get to. So how did you get there? Because that requires a very high level of self-confidence, which is often misconstrued in the black man as arrogance,
Right.
or narcissism or something along those lines. So how did you take those steps to be able to build yourself up to the point where you actually had confidence to be able to say to yourself, be great on purpose, to then be able to not pour out of an empty cup? How'd you get there?
I would say like my teenage years, like I knew I used to like rap and stuff like that. So every time
Okay.
I used to get the
You gonna spit a
mic,
verse?
I could, know what I'm saying, do what I need to do. I wake up, I say a prayer, then I start my day. I turn on the news, people wilding out. It's not okay. Generation lost. Some crying for help. Some preach unity, but they caught on self. Don't shoot the shot, then fail to follow through. Don't sell yourself to the streets. You're not a prostitute. Lights in the dark room. I'm trying to spark a few. Question of the day, what really bothers you? That's what I'm saying.
Come on, man.
You see what I'm
Let's
saying? But
go,
like,
man.
I'm just saying, like, when it comes to certain things like that, like I was rapping about like community stuff and everything like that. So
For sure.
every time I got a microphone or something like that, I just would just be like, yo, this is my stage. And I just feel, like I said, the confidence over time. And I realized just being in these spaces, just how can you serve? How can you help someone?
For
So
sure.
I realized um how can I help you is more important than what can I gain.
No doubt.
And
No
that
doubt.
really changed the mindset for me and what I want to see in the community as well. Because a lot of people pull up and they be like, "Man, I'm just trying to do this to get this. I'm
Yeah,
trying to do that to get that."
for
And
sure.
all of a sudden, it's like you pulled up, you got what you wanted, but what's next?
Yeah,
And that's where legacy and longevity and objectives and
that's
all
right.
these things come in,
That's right.
which we have to really pay attention to because, like, sure, you can have a goal, I can have a goal, but at the end of the day, like, what's the overall objective? I
For sure.
understand that expediting change is literally like something that is permanent.
For
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? When I leave my mark, boom, you know what I'm saying? This is what it is. I can go back from point A to point B and tell you exactly what I did to do to expedite the change.
I love
Same
that.
thing with like grinding hard and dreaming big. Like some of these people don't know what grind hard, dream big is because some of these kids aren't grinding. Some
Mm,
of these kids are probably just, sit back, on recliner or something like that, but they're looking for somebody that's going able to amplify what they have going on. And that's
Absolutely.
what I'm doing. I look at it from a standpoint of, okay, I can meet you where you are by literally having a conversation with you.
Hmm.
Now you sitting there saying, oh yeah, you want to start that business? All right, I may not be the most business savvy, but I know somebody that is.
Absolutely.
Okay, I
Your
know
connection.
somebody, yeah, I know somebody that, you say you need a mentor. Oh, I can help you out. Or, hey, sis, I can't help you out with that, but I know somebody that can help you with
Yeah.
this. You know what I'm saying? It's putting them in a position or presenting that opportunity so that they don't have to revert back to what they was doing before and being misguided or being like, oh yeah, you in the hood, you doing this, you up to no good. Nah, these kids, it's not that they bad. They
Mm.
simply misunderstood. People
Absolutely.
ain't having the conversation with them to be like, all right, what's really going on with you?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Who's gonna really pull up on you? And
Absolutely.
that's the type of person that I realize that I've been, and the youngest, I'd be like, yo, I can talk to you about almost everything.
For sure.
So, like I said, it's a safe space, and I'm blessed, man. Shout out to God.
No doubt. No doubt. Man, you said so much. I want to respond with so many different things. This might be the first time I had like 100 questions all at once in my head because
It's all
normally
good.
the way I run the podcast is again, as I said when we sat down, it's a flowing
Oh,
conversation.
not for
But
sure.
I literally one question typically comes up, or one thought, and then I spit it. But literally everything you said, I had so many questions. Plus, I have to say that we in Studio 12, so you spit bars, you might not just be able to walk out the studio because this is not just a podcast studio. My guy Khalif, shout out to Studio 12. He might grab you up and be like, yo, put this on wax, you know what I mean? So
Hey, man, look,
um,
it's whatever, bro. It's
but I
whatever.
get royalties on that. So when you go back to edit and cut this up, say I said that. So that's one thing I had to say. But then another thing I had to say, with all the great things that you said and talking about that level of confidence, how would you tell somebody, or because it's hard to teach somebody to pick themselves up. You know what I mean? That's a very difficult thing. But the space that you're in, I mean, you literally just rap right on Expediting Change on the podcast, like with nothing. Like, I know individuals who I rock with who've been rapping for years and wouldn't do something like that. So that shows that level of confidence. But in that level of confidence, how are you projecting that? Like, how do you make that contagious? Like how can that catch fire with every single person that looks like me and you?
I just tell myself, man, I ain't do nothing yet.
Mm,
Like I ain't do nothing yet. Like, okay, you think it's a big stage or something like that. Nah, you just scratching the surface. Like, I'm
mm,
still hungry. Like, okay, but I'm at a restaurant. Okay, man, what's the appetizer? Okay, let me get a couple of those. Okay, now I'm ready for the
for
entree.
sure.
Or then it's like just always resurfacing and remembering like why you showing up,
For
like
sure.
why you doing these things.
For
So like
sure.
with confidence, it's hard to teach because like I said, in the beginning, I wasn't. Like I was very doubtful. I
Yeah.
looked at it like, oh man, like man, I don't know, man. I'm the only one doing this. It may not work for me. Motivation may not work for me. But then I
Mm,
realized like once I started moving on that, other people started looking at it like, all right, you know what? I'm inspired. I see you, bro.
for
Like,
sure.
and then they won't realize the light that was given to you. And like I said, like me, like God has given me a light to just shine. And I feel like at the end of the day, you know what I'm
You
saying
gotta do
I'm not
something with
gonna.
it.
I gotta do something with it,
For
and I
sure.
can't. I can't mishandle what He gave me.
For sure. I think two or three times you mentioned God, and we don't shy away from religion and politics on Expediting Change. And the one thing that I say is I don't want to alienate anybody when it comes to talking about God. I fundamentally believe in something that is higher than yourself,
Mm.
whatever it is, and however you believe in God. But it is, I believe, it is Expediting Change. It is Shomari James. My life started to change when I shifted my position on God and having an understanding that I didn't have to sit in a church and have a man tell me what my relationship was going to be with God. So my point in all of that is believe in a higher purpose, believe in something that's bigger than yourself. Because when you start to do things understanding that there is a higher power and there is a God that is guiding things, I think it dynamically changes your life. Every morning when I wake up, I do a prayer thanking God that he woke me up and allowed me to be my best self today. The reason I said all of that, though, how do you broach those conversations with the kids? Because when I was that age, when I was young, I don't want to lose any subscribers. I ain't even gonna talk about the things I used to say.
Right.
But how do you broach that conversation?
I mean, I just, I asked them like, who's their inspiration for real, for real? Like, who's the person that's gonna really keep them, guided? You know what I'm saying
Mm,
throughout the process. So it's like when you make a mistake, who's the first person you think is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I let such and such down. Right. So
mm,
because it's like it's bigger than you. So like, if a kid were to get, suspended. I'm pretty sure a kid, you know what I'm saying, they come home, they mom, they dad may not even want them to be suspended. So it's like, yo, don't even put yourself in the crossfire,
Mm-hmm.
So think of those people that inspire you, that uplift you. It could be your mom, your dad, uncle, aunt, niece, nephew, brother, sister,
Role
cousin,
models.
your role model, your neighbor, your neighbor's neighbor. I don't like somebody in your neighborhood that's treating the neighbors good. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But
No
like
doubt.
for real,
But
like,
find
but yeah,
somebody.
to find somebody that you can really just go to, because if you don't have that person, it gets fuzzy and it gets hard, because you're gonna sit there and feel like, all right, bet I just woke up and I just put in 50%, and guess what? I'm cool with
For
50%.
sure.
But then your neighbor like, nah, man, like, did you really get that A or did you get that B in that class?
For
Did you say
sure.
what you was gonna do?
For
Is
sure.
your accountability partner in this? Because they know that you can turn it up a notch.
For sure.
So that's what you got to double down in your hustle and your focus. And
For
that's what it
sure.
was for me. I'm like, yo, my mother, like, I knew for a fact, ain't no bringing no bad grades
No,
or
no
tweaking in
doubt.
the house at all.
No
She
doubt.
tweaking, you gonna make sure, like, you gonna know.
For
And it's
sure.
like at the end of the day, same thing with my dad. Like, you know what I'm saying, they installed that in me early. He was going work hard, do what you needed to do, take care of take care of your stuff, make sure that you brought them grades home, your education, and then the rest is the rest. We did our part. Now it's time to do yours.
So I hear you saying it's imperative to find a coach. It's imperative to find
Yes,
a mentor. It's
absolutely,
imperative to find an accountability partner.
absolutely.
But that comes with a level of humility to be able to be coached, to be
Yes,
able to be mentored, to be
yes,
able to be checked,
yeah,
to be able to receive the accountability that sometimes being held accountable means there is discipline associated with you not achieving what we talked about you achieving. So talk to me about that accountability and that discipline piece.
yeah. Accountability is definitely key, and discipline as well. I know for myself, I have two mentors. Shout outs to Kimberly Marshall, my community mentor, and shout outs to Jeffrey Young, my speaking mentor. And I know for a fact, like, when we sit there and we have our conversations, all right, bet this is what we doing this week. If we ain't do it this week, you know what this means.
Yeah,
So like, having those people that constantly give you, fire, tell you the things that you need to hear, but also tell you, the things that you need to hear and want to hear at the same time,
yeah,
and telling you what you need to hear. Like, yo, this was good, but I'm gonna need you to do this a little bit better.
for
Oh
sure.
yeah, man, you killed this speech, but I need you to hit this point a little bit, bring this
For sure.
point home more. Or like, yo, this community event was cool, but let's not get too, let's not get too caught up.
Like
So I
fine
tell
tuning,
myself, it's like,
fine
yo,
tuning
fine
you.
tuning it, and it's like never getting too high, never getting too low, keeping it right there in the middle, keeping it right there in the center, because you can always learn more.
For
So
sure.
I'm a natural learner, and I'm becoming more coachable in the process. At first,
Mm,
I'm like, man, you told me to do X, Y, and Z. I did everything you said. Now what? No, no, no,
yeah,
no. I get angry. I get upset. I'm like,
yeah.
now what? Like, I did everything you said. I checked every box.
Say more
Whatever.
on that, because that's a good lesson. Say more on
Yeah,
that. So
like
how'd you come out of that? Because that's
so
tough.
it was more so paying attention to the details.
Mm,
So it's like I checked the boxes how I wanted to check the boxes,
mm.
but overall, I didn't look at the overall goal. I was just focused on me, myself, and I.
Mm.
And that's one of my me, myself, and I. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Beyonce songs. I'm just saying, yo,
Yeah.
that is. So
Yeah.
that was very selfish, right? But I had to learn to be selfless
No doubt.
and realize, look at the bigger picture.
No
So
doubt.
that's what it really
Say
was
that
for
again,
me,
though.
man.
Look in the camera and say that again, man.
I
That's
had to
key.
be I had to be selfless as opposed to being selfish. Like,
No
I didn't
doubt.
want to be caught up on me, myself, and I. Like I said before, that's my favorite Beyonce song. But I'm just saying, like, at the same notion, being selfless and realizing, okay, look, it's bigger than myself.
For sure.
And like I said, when we're doing like when you're collaborating with people, you have to understand what their expectations are as well. So when they sit there and say, okay, hey, we're doing this event, this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're about. This is our collective goal. It can't just be, okay, bet I'm gonna do this, and all right, I guess this person to do this. So also communicating what it is you need to be done. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying?
mm,
And at first, for me, communicating, I would just assume. And I
mm-hmm.
think a lot of us make assumptions a lot and being like, okay, well, yeah, okay, yeah, this person to do this. Oh yeah, man, this person lit. This person got X amount of followers. I ain't gotta do nothing. But
Right.
it's like, nah, you still gotta put that groundwork in. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, social media posts is cool and everything like that. But hey, you may still have to go ahead and print out some flyers and pass this stuff out. You
Hand
still
in
got to get
hand.
the word
Make
out
contact.
there and all that stuff. So that's what I've learned,
For
and it's
sure.
paid great dividends and to where I'm at today, man.
For
And
sure.
like I said, with my mentors, they hold me accountable each and every single day. And I ain't nothing without them, because like I said, they in these spaces and they just teaching me. And they tell me all the time, man, yeah, I mean, little old me, You giving me this advice
No
for
doubt.
real?
No doubt.
I'm humble for it,
No
and I
doubt.
appreciate it for
No
real.
doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you'll hear me say quite often, and people misconstrue it. But I say a function of humility to me is a function of systematic racism and oppression.
Mm,
And my point in that is there's a level of pressing on that humility. So I'm not being the best that I can be as a black man. So when I step out of that box of the systematic racism and oppression, then now I am conceited and I am arrogant and I'm all those other things. So that's only one side of it. You also have to be, I said also, let me retract also. What I'm saying is that's some bullshit. The humility that I'm talking about is humble and being able to listen more than you speak,
mhm.
being able to have a mentor that can tell you things. I literally have, you gave shouts out to your mentors. We'd be here for another 30 minutes if I started talking about all the people that have mentor, coach, slap me in the back of my head, push me off the block. That's the level of humility that I'm talking about. To see somebody that is somewhere that you want to be and then not compete with them, but to go to them and say, how did you get there?
Right.
I want to learn from you. Yes, I still maintain my level of self-confidence, but you're doing something that I'm not able to do, I haven't been able to do, or that I want to do, and I want to learn from you. And that's the humility that I'm talking about, not that bullshit systematic racism and oppression about me keeping my mouth closed.
Oh yeah, nah, for sure. And that's what it is. Like I had to do that. And I'm like, man, sometimes, I realize like, man, you know what? You talk too much. Just sit there and listen, boy.
No doubt.
Like you tripping.
No
Like,
doubt.
yo, they just sat there and gave you like everything that you needed. But
Absolutely.
you gotta listen to understand as opposed to reply. And
That's
that
right.
was something that I'm really just crawling out of, to be honest with
No
y'all.
doubt.
Like, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Like, it is something that is hard because sometimes we feel like we got all the answers,
No
but
doubt.
somebody can come along and they can have a nice suggestion too. And just because they have a suggestion or something to say, that's criticism or
sure.
something that can elevate the idea.
For sure. For
And
sure.
guess what? You may have to tag that person in on what you're doing.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Absolutely. We don't have all the answers. I believe though, what gets measured makes progress. So what are you seeing in this change that you're creating? You said as an example that you're feeding the homeless, you're doing 1, 2, 3 of these events. Like what have you seen that you've done that you can say, hey, we changed these lives or we helped these individuals? Because it feels good to have the conversation, but if we're not measuring it from a quantitative perspective to then be able to go back and say, hey, I missed out on this. Like, how do you see your change? How do you quantify your change? How do you quantify the things you're doing?
I say in the strength in the numbers. Like I said, for the homeless event, year one, we had a lot of people there. Year two, we did the same thing. Year
Yeah.
three, and then of course with our Dave and Buster's event, we're on our fourth annual. So like I said, year one, we had about 7 kids. Year two, we had about 14. Year three, we had 28. This year, we're expecting 50.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Same thing with our back to school drives. Our first year, we did 250 book bags. Second year, we did about 250, 300. This year, we did 400.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Year 5, we're going for 500.
No doubt.
And then we did a youth summit last year in Glen Arden. Shout out to Glen Arden Community Center and all the community partners that partner with us. We had 116 kids, middle school and high school kids, and taught them about podcasting, financial literacy,
Yeah.
creative writing.
Yeah.
It had youth performances and everything, and that was year one. Year two, we ran it back this year, and we had 225 kids.
No doubt.
So we were realizing that the need is heavy,
No
and
doubt.
these kids want to learn different skills and want
Absolutely.
to have different outlets to express themselves.
Mm.
There I go using pronouns themselves.
No
But I'm just
doubt.
saying, like, here we go, like,
No doubt.
or he or she. But
Right.
anyway,
No
we stuck
doubt.
on pronouns. But hey, yeah, to express, and that's what they need. They need the outlets. They need
Yeah.
the safe spaces. So, like I said, that it was informative for them, but they were able to have fun. And then things like Dave and Buster's allowed them to be kids.
No doubt.
But we also want to give them information
Yep.
so that way they can have it as tangible. And now just to make it systematic. So
Yeah.
getting into, camps and things like that, we're gonna explore those things and we're gonna keep going.
Good answer, man. Because I wouldn't call it a setup question, but I call it a challenge question on expediting change. Because again, I started this, and the whole purpose was to get all the bullshit out, right? So if you didn't have a good answer to that, you know what I mean, which you did, you know what I mean, you're quantifying your metrics. You're able to say we had this many people this time. That's what individuals have to start speaking from. It's good to talk about how you feel about shit, absolutely, but your feelings is not facts. Bring the data. Talk to me about the data. How are you changing lives every single day from the smallest increment to the largest increment. So I appreciate that answer that you have metrics in.
Man, appreciate you.
So what I do on Expediting Change is I get you to talk for 30, 40 minutes and tell everything that you're doing for the community and talk to you about all of these different things that you're doing. And then I get to my final question. And some of my guests look at me like, you asking this question? I just told you everything that I'm doing, right? But that's my point. My point is to pull it out of you, right? So
For sure.
my final question for you is, as I talked about, as I told you, this is Expediting Change. What are you doing right now, today, besides sitting here on Expediting Change, telling everybody, so you can't use that as an answer, right? What are you doing today for the positive progression of the culture to create positive change, bro?
Man, creating programming for kids to be kids, empowering them through positive words and positive actions, telling them to grind hard and dream big each and every single day. If God could use me, God could use you. So like I said, like rather me speaking to you, pulling up on you, just having a conversation with you. Because like I said, being who I needed when I was younger, that's literally the person that didn't take care of the resources or take advantage of them. You're looking at somebody that didn't even apply to over 10 scholarships, to be honest with you. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't even do that. And now I realize all the opportunities that you guys have. I just want y'all to take advantage of it. And that's what I'm doing. So before, back then, because I didn't take advantage of it, now being in a position to do it now, why not? So better in the community, better in you and me, and it starts with you and me. So
I love it, man. I would be remiss if I didn't say he reached out to Expediting Change, and I'm not gonna say that we're bad with our DMs, but sometimes we can be bad with our DMs. But he reached out and asked if he could be a guest on the show, and I appreciated that courage reaching out. So then I went and I took a look. The team took a look at his Instagram page, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. At first, he was like doing a lot. I was like, what is he talking about? I am interested in this. But then we honestly didn't get back right away, right? I think it was a message that came back, but the power of networking, consistency, and staying true to you. We ran into each other at the political event,
yes,
which is a young lady that is running because she and I have a connection at Howard. And then he approached me at that event, and we had a phenomenal conversation from there. But I say that story to say that's about the consistency. That's about the follow-up. That's about the humility. Because you could have said, oh, that's the cat. I know I seen him on this podcast. They never hit me back. I'm not going to go over there and have a conversation with this dude. It's a wrap. Oh, well. But you stayed true to you. You know what I mean? You feel you have a message that you have to get out, and you wanted to get it out through Expediting Change, and I highly respect that, bro.
I appreciate that. And like I said, the name itself, bro, I'm like, hold up. Grind hard, dream big, Expediting Change. That's what we doing.
So put that together.
Yeah, gotta put that together for sure.
Gotta put that
Absolutely,
together.
man. Absolutely.
Shout out. Why don't you, as we close, why don't you shout out all your Instagram, all your social media so folks can follow you?
Yeah, for sure, man. But you know what I'm saying? I got another rap on my sleeve. Can I do that real quick?
Spit, yeah,
All right,
All right. Changing my production.
Hey, if we come together, I could imagine no more killings, no more distractions, less captions, more actions. I know I gotta be the one to make it happen. Everybody talking about the NFL, and truth be told, they just making it sell. Black players, but the owners be white. Kneeling don't do it. You gonna really pay the price. America's right. What's really wrong? Doing something for self or proving the system wrong. The youth dying and people can't man up. Man, we animals in the jungle. They scam us. Don't apply and get the job. Stuck on IG, TikTok, the houses and the cars. The MLK really marched this far. You ain't got to be 21 to handle these bars. Flow. JAYFLOW301MD. That's the Instagram. Facebook is JFlow. Twitter is JFlow301. Like I said, Expediting Change, man.
For sure.
That's
I appreciate
what we did.
you. You killed it.
You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
This is crazy. Obviously no disrespect to any of my previous guests because all of my guests have been amazing, but I absolutely felt this podcast. Typically, as I get to the closing piece for whatever I believe one of my superpowers is, I could just come in and sum it up right away. Like I just, man, like Jay, I just come in not writing anything down and just do my summary. It just hit me. But we talked about so much that I absolutely felt it's hard for me to summarize it. He said so many different things, and I have so much extreme love for the youth and for those who are out there supporting the youth. It makes it difficult to wrap this thing up. But here is what I am going to say that was pertinent for me, that was strong for me. He said God about 3 times on this podcast, and he probably could have said it even more than that. I already said it within the podcast, but I'm gonna underscore it. I'm gonna say it again. They say it takes 7 times for you to hear something and understand it as it was meant to be, as opposed to how you interpret it. So understand this as I'm saying it to you, and interpret it just as how I'm saying it. Believe in something that is bigger than yourself. I'm not telling you what religion to pick. I'm not telling you what God to pray to. But what I'm telling you is that you need to believe in something that is bigger than yourself. Because what happens is there'll be a transformation that if you want to receive, you will begin to understand that for you to receive greatly, you have to give abundantly. You all know I say it a million times over. A rising tide raises all ships. So if you are not in this to be selfless, which does not mean you can't have some selfish motives. However, if you're not in this for the rising tide to raise all ships by believing in a power that is higher than you, which does not negate your own self-confidence, having the right humility, then you won't be able to abundantly receive. So ultimately, what that comes to for me, which he also said, is get your mind right. This is Expediting Change. I appreciate and I love y'all. We'll see y'all next episode.
As I open my mind and try to reach yours, ask myself, why is it you really want to preach, boy? I want to teach more.